Hey guys, great to be with you. So there's a bill that I've been following carefully in Florida for a while now. It's about the most significant bill probably introduced in the legislature so far. That's why it's HB1. And there are some interesting and I think some good intentioned elements to it, but there's a really significant catch. Basically, it offers government funding to homeschool families and families who choose to use private schools, but there are some really serious strings attached. Basically, once the parents accept this government money, they give up their educational freedom and their independence. And so there's two major elements to that destruction of the freedom and independence. The first one is that any parent who starts taking this money then has to submit their child to a examination, to a testing scheme. And there are a number of different tests that are acceptable, but it looks to me like all of them are actually aligned with Common Core. Now, our governor here, Ron DeSantis, has been on the warpath against Common Core. In fact, he's been telling people that Common Core is gone from the state of Florida and that we have a new set of standards. And yet what this would do, critics say, is actually force a lot of homeschoolers who take this money and even private schools whose students take this money to obviously start teaching to the test. And if the test is Common Core, then they're going to have to start teaching Common Core again. This is how they were controlling education for decades, even before Common Core, right? The curriculum always lines up with the testing. Testing drives the curriculum because everybody wants their kids to look smart, whether it be a private school or homeschool parents, and so they'll teach what is on the test. So major red flag there. Another big issue with the bill is that every family that takes this money then has to meet annually with a so-called choice navigator. Now, this was a term I had never heard before, a choice navigator, and it's actually not very clearly defined in the bill. But these families would meet with these choice navigators, and then the choice navigators would determine and assess the quote-unquote educational needs of every child, and then work with parents to make sure that those educational needs are met. Now, again, very nebulous. We don't have a lot of details on exactly what that means. Supposedly, these choice navigators are just going to help parents see, what options are available to them and make sure their kids stay on track. But that is viewed by a lot of homeschool families and a lot of homeschool leaders as a major infringement on homeschooling and homeschoolers. Now, the homeschool community is already working to sound the alarm about this. You've got national and state major homeschool organizations working on this, mostly behind the scenes. They put out some notes to their members in the area, but they haven't really made a lot of public noise yet. The Florida Parent Educators Association, which is the big homeschool umbrella group that represents families here in Florida, and then also the Home Education Legal Defense Fund, the HSLDA, which is the national group, they are also sounding the alarm about this. And they're asking either for homeschoolers to be completely cut out of this, or for these people who take this government money to be considered an entirely different category under state law rather than homeschoolers, because there's going to be quite a bit of entanglement according to their analysis. So we'll see what comes with that. Now, the bill sets up two pots of money for these homeschool families and private school families. One is already in existence. It's the family. In fact, they're both already in existence. They're just going to be expanded. The first one is the Family Empowerment Scholarship. So this is the government just takes money and hands it out, and they give scholarships. The other option is they've got these nonprofit groups. There's really only one major one in Florida. It's very difficult for them to compete because they've got a 3% cap on how much money can be used for administration. And so there's only one giant one, Step Up for Florida or something. And it's a very controversial group. They partnered with Equality Florida, the LGBT group here in Florida. And so a lot of people are concerned even about the tax credit funded one. But basically there's these two pots of money, and then these monies would be given to homeschool families and private school families if they agree to relinquish their freedom and start taking government tests and start meeting with choice navigators. So I've been talking to a lot of people in Tallahassee and a lot of people that are working on this, including legislators and others. And obviously there's going to be some changes to the bill. We're being told that some amendments are probably to be expected next week. It is almost universally expected to pass. It's HB1, right? The Speaker of the House is planning to shepherd it through, even though it was introduced by Representative Tuck. Now, obviously, Republicans have a supermajority in the Florida legislature. Teachers unions are pretty limited in their influence there, at least over the Republicans who dominate. And so far, Governor DeSantis has not commented on this bill yet, although he did appear in a docuseries that Fox produced. I was in there also, The Miseducation of America, where he really vigorously endorsed this concept of helping kids get out of public schools by finding ways to fund them. But again, he hasn't weighed in on this bill yet. I know there's a lot of people pressuring his office to try to speak out here. Now, there's decent elements to this, right? We want to try to get as many kids out of the system as possible, as quickly as possible, but it can never come at the expense of educational freedom and, of course, independence. In fact, the ones that are really working well are the homeschoolers and a lot of the private schools. The idea that we should bring them back into the government system with testing and choice navigating things, it's just rather silly.